hard to come by. But fortunately, I have some connections, and I was able to get it for you.
Joe, shut up. You talk too much.
Right. Hey, one of you guys was talking about smoking pot all the time.
What else is there to do?
Well, yeah, but all the time.
Yeah. All the time. Something wrong with that?
No. Must be wild, though, huh? Some wild times, huh?
How do you mean?
Well, like with the chicks.
I got no time for chicks, man. All I got time for is pot. It's the only thing I do. That's my bag. Besides, you can't do nothing with chicks when you're smoking pot. It's a waste of good pot.
You gotta watch out, Josh. There may be nothing wrong with grass, but you can get busted. If you get busted, you've had it.
What do you mean?
Possession of pot's a felony. You can get a record and you can get sent up. I had a friend that got busted. He was in the Navy. Got a bad discharge and lost his security clearance. Wasn't able to get a job when he got out. Whole future shot to hell. Now all he does is sit around and smoke pot. And if he gets busted again, it's bye-bye birdie.
Hey, why don't you shut up? Or maybe you'd like me to shut you up myself, huh?
No, Josh, I didn't mean you. I didn't mean any harm.
I sit around and I smoke pot because I like to sit around and smoke pot. That's what I do. That's my bag. All right?
Sure, Josh, sure. I didn't mean any harm.
I'll tell you one thing, though. I don't sell it. A guy I knew up in Oregon got sent up for 20 years. 20 years for selling it to a friend. Boy, ain't that a gas.
Yeah.
Oh, it's happening.
What's happening? It's happening again.
Joe, did you do it? You're trying to blow my mind, Joe. Joe, what are you doing? Used to be able to control my phone. I can't. I don't know what I'm doing. Why'd you do it, Joe? Huh? What'd you do it on purpose for? Joe, I'm gonna get you. I'm gonna kill you if it's the last thing I do.
I don't know what it means, but I think he's getting kookier and kookier, and I'm worried about him.
Oh, he's all right. So he had a rough time at the party. He got over it.
Yeah, I know, but he's not so quick when we're landing the planes. He seems to be thinking of something else. He rubs his eyes. A couple of times I had to pick up on some mistakes he made. They were little mistakes, but maybe he might make a big mistake. And then what happens? Millions of dollars worth of airplane and a pilot and an RIO and who knows how many other people dead because he made a mistake.
I don't think he's that bad. You?
I don't know. That's just the point. I don't know. We were just talking about you.
What's wrong?
And it's the way you've been acting. Sometimes when we're bringing the planes in, you act like you're seeing things.
I have. I don't know what's wrong. It's only for a second, but we worked for a long time. I don't know, the lights, everything going around it. Makes me feel like I'm going back on the acid trip again. Break out in a sweat, I just go out of my mind.
Can you tell when it's going to happen?
Sort of. You know, the lights, radar scope going around, excitement. I know, there's a pattern, light, dark, flickering. It sets everything off. I know it's mostly because everything's set up so much like I was in the acid trip, I think I'm going to have another one. I don't know, the scope, it changes colors, all sorts of crazy little things that happen.
Hey, what about going to sick bay? I mean, What if this thing gets out of hand? You know, we're bringing the planes in and you start seeing things in the scope or something?
It's never been to the point where I couldn't control it, though. I get dizzy, I get nervous. If I concentrate hard enough, I usually can control it. I don't know, though. Every now and then I start seeing faces in the scope. I look up at Joe through that glass. He looks like a monster. I know it's my imagination playing tricks on me, but I sure as hell wish it wouldn't happen anymore.
Well, you know the answer to that, man. It's simple. You just relax and you float with it. I mean, you don't get all hung up.
Hey, why don't you tell that to the pilot that's coming in?
That is the stupidest thing I ever heard. Don't you know what would happen if Bill gave him the wrong instructions or pushed the wrong button or any damn thing? Don't you know what would happen? Yeah, I guess you're right. You know, yeah, man, but if you're going to reach a new level of awareness, you're going to have to take some risks. I mean, the Indian mystics weren't concerned whether they could land planes or not.
Yeah, that's right. They weren't. They didn't have to. I do. If you ever have the job, you will too.
Well, what about sick bay? Maybe we could take you down there.
No good. Then we'd all be in the soup.
Oh, well, maybe you could tell them some other kind of story, like you don't feel well or something.
What kind of a story? I'm crazy, I'm out of my head, I'm seeing things. That'd sound great. And what if I do tell the doctor about the acid and marijuana? What's he gonna do? Believe I walked out in the street and found it? You guys are gonna get involved too. He knows we hang around together.
You know, you can tell him you took it yourself, and we had nothing to do with it.
You know the penalties for using dope. You're the guy that insisted on it. How come I'm supposed to be the only one that takes the rap? If a couple guys get involved, I won't get the book thrown in. Roger, you'll be flying on my wing all the way to the pole.
Nice 3, you now 35.
Bright Star 203, radio check. How do you hear, over?
I completely lost my stack in, and I seem to be flying over some hot area. It looks like it's flashing down here. You have me on radar. Feedback 14 commencing, 15 seconds late, state 2.8.
Roger.
What's your idea? Roger, I'm 28 miles.
28, Roger.
Okay, That's 17 miles platform.
Roger.
Hey, Bill, what's going on?
I'm floating with it. I'm floating with it, Tony. It's beautiful.
Yeah, red flash 3, commencing descent.
With the targets, the airplanes.
I'm having a little company problem. I might have to watch my turns. I have to reset it
I
manually.
think I'll come back. Flight 207. I'm coming aboard.
Flight 207, disregard previous transmission. Disregard and continue your pattern.
Roger.
Mr. Coggins, this man has to be relieved.
What's going on here?
He can't function. He's sick.
What's wrong with him?
He's taken LSD, sir. He's having flashbacks, hallucinations.
How do you know?
Because Joe and I were with him when he took it.
All right, you two. Get this man to sick bay right now.
Thanks.
Dukes, move over on that board. Anderson,
Roger.
Johnson, get in here.
Panther.
You've been trying to get me, and they did. I thought they were my friends. I guess that's part of the idea.
What idea?
I mean, everything happens too fast to talk about it. The scope goes round. The world goes around. Around a ball. But if the ball gets cracked, it never comes down. It's more like a balloon. A gas balloon. That's a gas.
Did you fellas take the stuff with him?
I took the LSD and later the marijuana.
How about you?
Well, no, I didn't take any.
Joe was our guide. He got us the acid and showed us how to find out the truth about ourselves. He wanted us to have a new experience.
What'd you do it for?
I just thought it might be fun to turn him on, that's all. I mean, like for kicks. I didn't think he'd freak out or anything.
You see, these drugs affect your judgment, concentration, particularly LSD. They cause changes in your brain. LSD seems to interfere with ambition, reaching one's goal in life, and with being a responsible person. Sometimes in the Navy, a great many lives can depend upon one person's judgment. We can't take chances.
The effectiveness of the United States Navy is based upon the reliability of each man who takes part in the vital mission of national defense. The improper and unauthorized use of drugs can destroy a man's reliability, can endanger the lives of his shipmates, and can weaken the defenses of our country. Tony Carvello lost his rate and his security clearance. He also lost his Federal Aviation Agency license as an air controller. Since he had demonstrated his judgment was not adequate for a responsible position in the Navy, he spent the balance of his term of service performing non-critical tasks and was denied the opportunity to re-enlist. Joe Hennessy, partially through the testimony of his former friends, was convicted in civil court for illegal possession and sale of dangerous drugs. He was discharged from the Navy under other than honorable conditions and will now serve a sentence in prison. Bill Apperson developed a psychotic mental disorder following the use of LSD. He was separated from the Navy with a medical discharge.